Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god! Rian Johnson, he's back on it. He's back on it. I can't believe it. He just doesn't want to... Honestly, he literally just cannot stop talking about The Last Jedi. He cannot stop defending himself. It's very, very funny. So, I thought this was hilarious. I've got 3 articles here, all to do with Rian Johnson and his comments to do with The Last Jedi. He compares it to The Empire Strikes Back. Look, steady on, mate. Steady on, bro. You're putting yourself up there just a little bit too high now, mate. So let's get into it, right? To say that Rian Johnson's Star Wars The Last Jedi has had a mixed reception among fans would be dramatically underselling the issue. The film remains massively divisive nearly 2 years after the release. Fans either loved it or hated everything about it and have declared Johnson to have ruined the entire franchise, which is where the funny little take on his name, Ruin Johnson, comes from. It's a reaction that is, in many ways, not dissimilar to how another entry in the franchise was received when it hit theatres long ago. The Empire Strikes Back. That film, widely considered by many as the best in the saga to date, didn't go over well during its initial release, and it's something that Johnson finds similar to the situation with The Last Jedi. It wasn't that badly received. They're nowhere near to The Last Jedi standards. In a recent interview with Up Rocks, Johnson was asked about the similarities between the reception of the 2 films, and the filmmaker explained that he, too, remembers initially being disappointed by Empire only for it to become his favourite. Do you want people to think your film's the favourite? It's a situation that many fans of the franchise at the time have found themselves in. That's the thing, Johnson said. But as a kid, I distinctly remember being disappointed by The Empire Strikes Back. I think my dad took me when I was really young to see A New Hope. Yeah, no, I remember, especially in the context of Return of the Jedi, which as a kid I adored. And so yeah, I remember very vividly, but then Empire slowly became my favourite one. Okay. Now, he then also goes on to talk about it, basically saying, yeah, mirrored. He's talking about The Last Jedi, and the Backlash is also, like, trying to defend himself by saying there's lots of positivity as well, which, like, of course there is. There's positives and negatives. But you, Rian Johnson, mate, you do by and large focus on all the negatives because you're on Twitter trying to, like, chase down people that don't like your film. If you don't know what I'm talking about, is if you type in The Last Jedi and something negative, he has been known to just randomly pop up on, like, on, just nobody's tweets, just going, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Far too much time on your hands. So, during an interview with Up Rocks about his film, Knives Out, which a lot of people have asked me to comment on because it apparently had like a 100% rating of Rotten Tomatoes. I do kind of want to, just for the lols, but I don't know whether I will. Johnson talked about The Last Jedi's reception over the last 2 years and how it reminds him of the way he felt with The Empire Strikes Back as a kid. So he expands on it a little bit further and then goes a step further. So he says, yeah, it sticks, Johnson said, of Empire's not so happy ending. That's why that's the one that, even though at the time I had that reaction to it, it stuck in me and it resonated with me. I remember the prequels, that acrimony of the prequels. I think many people forget exactly the tenure of the danger. We remember because we were in the thick of it. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that anything with a passionate following always has a passionate following. What? I don't know. I think that anything with a passionate following always has a passionate following. Okay. And Star Wars is that. Even more so. You can't be angry at one side of it when it's also the reason the positive is so passionate, you know? It's all part of the same thing, and it always was like this basic thing. That's why I love it. I just want to repeat that bit again because it confused me. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that anything with a passionate following always has a passionate following. Confused. So that's interesting. But like I say, I'm all for people changing their mind. Like, it's absolutely fine to change your mind. But, you have been the person to go specifically out of your way to attack people that are just commenting on things, which ironically resonates with something else which has been going on recently. People not accepting differing opinions. Baffling, really, isn't it? So anyway, he then goes on to comment on his new trilogy of movies that he's directing. So this is interesting because we've heard about this. It's been like ebbing and flowing, and we didn't know whether this was even happening for so long. But now we're getting some more comments from him. So maybe it is happening. Who knows? But he says fans have a long wait ahead of them before they see the first of Rian Johnson's new Star Wars films, though the filmmaker recently joked that his trilogy will end using an iconic editing technique from the franchise. It's been less than 2 years since Lucasfilm announced that Johnson would develop a trilogy of films that aren't connected to the Skywalker saga, with either the studio nor the filmmaker giving fans a good idea of when we can expect them. I think that was strategic. I don't think they wanted to say absolutely it's happening on this date, because they probably wanted to, get that script underway and make sure it wasn't going to piss anyone off. Now that his most recent film, Knives Out, has premiered and with its official release on the horizon, hopefully fans can learn more concrete details about the production in the near future. I'll tell you exactly how they end. An Irish shot to a blue credit. Yeah, okay. So that's kind of like how he thinks it's going to end. But then he went on a little bit further. So, in addition to what Johnson accomplished with Star Wars: The Last Jedi, what makes the upcoming project so exciting for fans is how he will embrace the spirit of the franchise without utilising familiar characters or settings. While both Rogue One and Solo deviated from the narrative that launched in 1977, it explored ancillary characters and events from the franchise to help expand the world of the episodic film. I quite like Rogue One. I don't think that's a bad film at all. I think that the fun and challenging part of it is to dive in, figure out what's exciting, and then figure out what it's going to be. We're doing something that steps beyond the legacy characters. What does that look like? To me, the blue sky element of it is what was most striking about it. I know the way that I'm coming at it, and what's fun about it for everyone in George Lucas's films is figuring out what's the next step. It really makes you think and figure out what the essence of Star Wars is for me and what that will look like moving forward. So look, these are always very, very funny. There was a few other ones, some other comments here and there. Oh, that's Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker's going back for reshoots. That's another video on the way. There's a spoiler for another video. But anyway, the comments by Rian Johnson are very, very funny. Just because, this is a man that, if you disagree with his opinion on it, actively, races forth and kind of seeks you out, which is comedic to say the least. I don't know what this means, his kind of comments on being The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, mate, it's quite a big comparison. I don't personally remember Empire Strikes Back being that hated. I think people were more like, oh my god. It's ended on a cliffhanger, and I want to see what happens next. I think it was more that than anything else, but I don't know. Who knows? I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me, but to compare The Last Jedi to The Empire Strikes Back is, I think, wholly unfair. I think that does a disservice to The Empire Strikes Back, and somewhat bigs up The Last Jedi way, way, way too much. But anyway, look. We've got The Rise of Skywalker coming out soon. We've got Rian Johnson's future projects coming out, potentially. Anyway, what do you think? Love to hear your thoughts on all of this down below in the comments. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe. You can stay up to date on the world of pop culture and movie news by hitting the bell notification icon. I've had a lot of comments recently saying that you guys haven't actually been notified. Someone said I haven't been notified all week of videos, which is shocking. So please do make sure that bell notification is actually clicked. It doesn't guarantee that YouTube will even notify you, but I think it helps. So, just saying that there. I may end up just posting things to Twitter. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can, at Mr. Reviews. But anyway, guys, that's enough from me. Support on Patreon down below, and my merch is underneath every video. Thanks so much for watching with Mr. H. Take care.